Good Monday evening, my family, and I want to say thank you for being here with us today. I have some interesting things that I've been learning, and we're going to start incorporating that in here even more. I have a really good topic, and then I have some Mediterranean side dishes. I am actually having salmon tonight, so I'm going to introduce two different sides. Sides seem to be the hardest thing in every meal. What do I have with such and such? What do I have with my chicken? What do I have with my fish? What do I have with my whatever red meat that you're using? What do I do that's a healthy version for a side dish? I got the answer, and a few other things. So let's get started. Well, my family, I have something to share. I did not know. First of all, we're drinking our green tea. I'm actually finding I like this. Flavored with different things. One of them is jasmine, and this one's just plain, but I don't know. Green tea has a really good flavor to it. But anyways, so I've been doing some research, and you all know that I am actually looking to do a group in my local area. Basically through my church, but it's going to be a group on living healthier in the Mediterranean way, or basically back in the biblical days. The one thing I didn't know, I've been reading the fact is bread has always been a big part of the life back then. I mean, some of the verses even said that Jesus is the bread of life, which I understand that. But bread was very important back then. Mind you, their wheat was different than our wheat now. Mainly their wheat was ancient grains like spelt, einkorn, kamut. There was barley, millet, and wheat. But you didn't get wheat unless actually you were rich. I mean, let's just be real. That's the way it was in those times. You had to be rich to get wheat. But the ancient grains, the einkorn, the spelt, they were more nutrient, I guess you could say, and they fall into that category of wheat, but millet and barley was the ones most generally used. Now there was a portion of a time that I started reading that stated that there was a point of a feast of unleavened bread. So that told me most of the time they use leavened bread. But I got to thinking about this, so I did some research. What was used for leavening? See, today commercially we have commercial yeast. So what was the leavening that they used? And it made sense. It made absolute sense. It has been around for as long as time has been, till the world was created. You're not going to believe this. This mixture in a jar. Sourdough starter. This has been around since ancient times. Sourdough starter is the perfect leavening, and basically the fermentation from sourdough, it explains why they say it is so much healthier. This is what we are going to be using along with our fresh milled wheat And occasionally I do add it with the other stuff that I get from Azure Standard, the crafter's flour. But for the most part, it's going to be fresh milled. But I'm going to be using more, depending on sourdough starter, than I am yeast. Occasionally I'll do the yeast for y'all, but many folks love sourdough, and it makes sense because, well, it tastes better. Be right back. So I decided to see what I can do more with the fresh milled flour and the sourdough, and see if we can incorporate that into this lifestyle of the Mediterranean, and see what we can do a whole lot better than, well, using yeasted flour. A lot of people can't tolerate the yeast and it messes up our system, but honestly, here's the one thing that I've learned. I did some other things this weekend. There were a few places we went shopping at, and I do not know what possesses me to do the things that I do, y'all. I cannot explain it. I call those leadings. So I went with the flow. I always say, you know, when I'm led to do something, even if it's crazy, I go with it. But when I went with it, I was totally shocked. I had told you all about the ingredient MSG and all of the sausage that I had seen. What I didn't tell you, there's a reason we are addicted to our certain foods. 85% of all the foods that we have from the store have traces or double or more of 3 products: corn syrup, sugar, and what was that? Corn syrup, sugar. There was one more, and I can't remember what that was, but it was in the base of a sweetener. So, and it wasn't a good sweetener either. So sugar and corn syrup was in just about everything that I seen. And I'm like, why? Why is everything we have sugar in it? Go read every bread that you see on the shelf. Go read every cereal product you see on the shelf. Go look at every brown sugar, that's it. Brown sugar, sugar, or corn syrup. So, I mean, look at some of the processed meats. And I'm going to guarantee you, everything you see that is processed has sugar of some form or another. And then we've got our condiments. Of course, we got our sugars in our condiments. And it just dawned on me, or clicked on me, is no wonder we are addicted to food. But we have an opportunity to change that, and that's why I'm here. So tonight, like I told you, I am having a beautiful lemon salmon for supper tonight, but I also want to include a really good side dishes. One of them is going to be a kale, very simple kale salad. You can do this one or two ways. You can make this kale salad with a Caesar dressing, or you can do like I'm actually going to be doing. There is other products of balsamic vinegar or whatever, and I'm actually going to be using my homemade rendered down pomegranate molasses. It is all natural, no added sugars. Pomegranate is extremely healthy for you, and I'm just going to use that as my dressing, just as it is. I'm just going to drizzle it on my kale salad with pine nuts, and I'm going to show you that part. The other part I'm going to do is a stuffed tomato. However, I'm changing one of the ingredients in it. This is totally up to you though. It is actually a couscous stuffed tomato with feta cheese. Alternatives: instead of couscous, I'm using quinoa, multigrain organic quinoa. And instead of feta, which I am going to keep because I love feta, but if you don't, you can use a Parmesan cheese. So these are alternating, and they're very good for you and a really nice healthy meal. So these are the sides we're going to work with tonight. So without further ado, let's go to the kitchen. Okay, y'all, so let's start with the baked tomato. Now the recipe that I have is for 4, and like always, please look for this recipe in the description box because that's where I'll have it for you. Now, this is for 4 people. which 1 tomato per person. So I'm going to improvise this. What's nice about Mediterranean ingredients is you can make this for one without actually having a measurement. Just use your eye. Like this is a stuffing. So, I mean, I have a recipe to make all 4 to make it easy to divide. But for me, I've been doing this long enough that I can actually alternate it. So just so you know, I am actually not using the full recipe because I'm only using 1 tomato. So I have washed my tomato, and I'm just going to take out this core because it's not really needed, although some don't. Basically, you're going to cut the top, but you need to save that top, so don't get rid of it, okay? So we're going to cut this top because this is our cap. We're going to put it right back on here when we go to bake it. Now on this inside of this meat here, you're going to see where these lines are. You want to go with those lines. You want to keep this outside shell. You want to go with inside here, and we're going to scoop out this pulp. Now for me, I am not discarding this pulp. I want to use this for other dishes, so I'll actually be saving this. I could use it in my eggs or whatever. I can even actually use it in some of my sauces if I wanted to. So I'm actually just going to scrape this out the best I can. It's really not that hard. We just want an inside shell to stuff. Oh, this is actually not hard at all, y'all. Not like you would think. You want to get all the insides out. You don't want to have this full of this liquid. Look how nice that is. Beautifully hauled out. Okay, now we're going to set this aside because we're not going to be using this. Now, I have some pre-made quinoa. The recipe calls for couscous. So I'm going to be using my quinoa in my dish because this is going to be my base filling. You can alternate either one. It does not matter. If you want to keep it with couscous, that is great too. I will tell you though, when it comes to couscous and quinoa, quinoa comes out to be the top superfood. So just keep that in mind. That might be just a little too much for this tomato. So let me cut this down some. There we go. Because I got other ingredients to add to this. So yeah, I'm going to cut this down just a little. Like I said, y'all, I'm eyeballing mine. So you just do what you got to do for yours. And if you're doing this for a big family, now if it was for me and my husband, all I had to do was easily divide this in half. So there's that. Now I needed my couscous, and it is for 4 tomatoes, 1 cup of couscous or quinoa. You need a 1/2 cup of chopped kalmata olives. The kalmata olives are these black Mediterranean style or Greek olives. So I'm just going to get a few of these up, and I'm going to chop them up basically. These are easy to find in your pickled aisles with all the other type of olives. That should be good enough. Alright, now I'm just going to take my knife and I'm just going to chop. I don't even think I'm going to use all these. Okay, put this one up. Yeah, we're not going to use all these. Just like that. And we're going to add that to our bowl as well. Just like that. Those are done. We need 1 minced clove of garlic. I'm going to add that in here. We need some feta cheese. If you are not a fan of feta, here's what you can do. You can totally eliminate it or add your preference of cheese, but you want to use basically a dry cheese. Nothing really super gooey per se. You could, if you wanted to, use some Parmesan cheese in this. I am going to sprinkle me some of my feta, and this is actually made from goat cheese, or not goat, but sheep. So these, which is the best feta you can do. Okay, there's my feta. And I put it in this container so I can keep it from drying out and going bad so quick. The next ingredient, let me get my hands washed and we'll be right back. Okay, y'all, so the next ingredient, you will need a 1/4 cup of fresh parsley. This is my homegrown parsley. If you do not have fresh, you can use dried, just you'll have to do a little more. So to equal out a 1/4 cup, I'd say 1 to 2 tablespoons, more on the 2 tablespoon side of dried parsley should do it too. Can't have enough. So go ahead and I'm going to add all of this in there. By the way, biblically, this is considered bitter herbs. These were used a lot along with cilantro. Just a little history. I also use some of the stems because they hold a lot of flavor. And you need 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. Now these are homegrown as well, that's been dried. I'm just going to use a pinch of oregano. And that's it, y'all. Add some salt and pepper to this, basically to season or taste. Mix this up. I'm just going to add cracked black pepper. I'm going to mix all of this together. See how beautiful that looks. Just like so. Now I'm going to get my dish that I'm going to bake in. Which is funny because I just used it for my stuffing. That's hilarious, y'all. So I got another one that's perfectly sized for this tomato. And I'm just going to take, and I'm going to stuff this baby. Push this down in here in its crevices. And see, still that was still too much. But that's okay because I can always save it for later for another one if I wanted to. Push that down in there. You just want to stuff your tomato. You want to have your oven preheated for 375 as well. Alright, that's about all I can do there. Now I'm just going to top this right on top. And we are going to bake this. And what we're going to bake this for is about 25 to 30 minutes or until the tomato is tender. So we're going to pop this in the oven and in a preheated 375 degree oven. And we will see you back in a few. Here's a fun fact that I didn't know until recently. Basically, this is one of those situations is it took me till this age to find out or realize facts. Number one, we know 95%, well, basically all our flour at the grocery store has been processed so much, but they have 4 synthetic nutrients, which would be niacin, zinc, riboflavin, and I don't know what the other one is. Calcium, I think it is. Anyways, there's 4 synthetics. That's it. Nothing else. However, did you know that even if you baked it, cooked with it or whatever, our bodies cannot absorb it. We are not getting any of those ingredients. Nothing in our body. Unless there is only one way you can actually release those synthetic vitamins, y'all, and that is through fermentation. Did you know that if you ferment your dough bread, you can unlock a lot of nutrients and vitamins? Matter of fact, even with my fresh milled, even though I am still getting way more and naturally out of my fresh milled flour, if I were to use the sourdough on top of that, I just opened up Pandora's box to a whole bunch of vitamins this body has probably never seen most of my entire life. So this becomes amazing. Fermented foods is an amazing way to also have better digestive stomachs. So, y'all, that's one other reason why I'm getting into sourdough more. I love the flavor too. I just can't get over the flavor of sourdough. So I can handle sourdough everything. So y'all, I'm going back the same way as that brought me here in the first place. Everything the way it should be. Sourdough is one of them. But it was interesting because I did not know this. I've been using yeast a lot, y'all. I have. And then I'd only use my sourdough occasionally. Well, I'm going to reverse this. I'm going to use my commercial yeast occasionally while I use real sourdough more for my leavening. And I am actually going to look into, and I'm going to give you my reviews on this, literally yeast from the Mediterranean, Italy, Greece, any of these. Their commercial yeast is different than ours. And it makes me wonder because basically here's how it goes. In the Bible, the leavening was nothing but a dough block. Okay, so basically, let me show you an example. Oh, if you could smell this box. Okay, y'all. So this is my sourdough starter that I took and dried out. So imagine this being into just a cube, a block. It's just basically dried out sourdough. That's it. I could take this, crumble it up, and turn that into this. And all I have to do is just add water. And then flour. Flour and water. We'll first add these, mix with some water, get it all like a paste, add my flour, and then it starts to rise just like regular sourdough. This is already aged. This is all ready to go. Once you get enough of it, you can bake a bread. That's why I love this. Now I have this for emergencies as well, but I have another purpose because the folks that are going to be in my group, once this group is formed, are going to get this for every kitchen, for everyone who wants to learn how to do sourdough, which is a much better bread. So that's going to be my gift to them. So anyways, and trust me, I have enough sourdough discard to keep getting this whole thing full, and I'd still have plenty enough. But anyways, so the leavening or the yeast in Italy, it comes in that same block. Here we get yeast that is in granules, dried out granules. But the yeast in Italy is so much different. I thought seriously about getting those cubes to see if they're different. Now I do have a can of Caputo dry yeast from Italy, and they do have dry also, but I just thought, I don't know, I want to check and see just for one time what the difference is between the dry and the cube yeast that they use, because in my Nordic book here that I'm using for Norwegian cooking and Norwegian breads, they use a lot of that cubed yeast. So, and then I do have an einkorn sourdough book, which I'm gonna crack that bad boy open, and we're gonna start doing a lot of that too. It's an ancient grain, just like spelt, and very easy, much easier to digest. So y'all, we got a lot of beautiful things gonna happen in this kitchen this winter. Be right back. All right, y'all, so while the tomato is baking, I'm gonna check on this. It's been a few minutes. Oh, it's looking beautiful, y'all. So while that's baking, we're gonna go ahead with our cucumber salad. Or not cucumber, our kale salad. And this is great for fall as well. Kale you can use year round, but it's really good in the winter if you want some decent salad. So, and kale is becoming more for season for fall as well. So we're going to use some diced up cucumbers. I'm using the English cucumbers. I actually like these better. You're going to need, this also is for, let's see here, I believe for 4 people. So it would be 1 cup of cucumber. You would need 4 cups of kale. So There's my cucumber. I am going to need 1 cup of tomatoes, but I'm just doing this for 2 people, so we're halving this recipe. And you can leave these tomatoes whole or cut them in half. I'm cutting mine in half. It's a really simple recipe, y'all. Now again, like I said, pomegranate molasses goes amazing with kale, so that's going to be my dressing. Or you could use the dressing I'm going to include, the ingredients for it, which is nothing but olive oil, lemon juice, salt, and pepper. So now I'm going to need some purple onions, and it calls for about 1/2 of a purple onion diced. And naturally, I'm not going to use a whole half for this, as y'all know. We're just going to dice up our tomatoes. I love salads like this. Super easy. Now, I may go ahead and even add some pine nuts into this, because I think it would be really good. And then that's all of that. Now, what I would end up actually doing from here later on, I'm not going to add it right now because hubby doesn't like it, but when I go to dish mine up, I'm going to sprinkle it again with some feta cheese, so I'll be right back. Alright, y'all, so I'm going to try and bring this closer up to you to see this tomato. Y'all, this thing is absolutely beautiful. Try to get this, I just pull it out of the oven, so I don't want to get my fingers, but look at this. I'm going to go ahead and take this top off of here right quick. Look at this. It smells so good. So y'all, these are the 2 sides, and like I said, I am fixing to have some lemon salmon with this, and this is a beautiful Mediterranean side dishes. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be right back with you. Remember, please check the description box below because I will have the recipe for both the tomato and this kale salad. Y'all, this will go great for any basically protein, fish, chicken, meat, whatever you choose. These are beautiful Mediterranean dishes that are wholesome and healthy, and it makes your mouth feel like a party because it's fresh foods. So, I hope you enjoyed this segment, and I hope you found that this information was very valuable to you. And until next time, y'all, much love from Parton's Mediterranean Homestead. Love ya.